Jonathan,
Mark,
the chosen lawyer.
how are you, buddy?
Actually, first and foremost, an old friend, right?
Brothers, really.
How long? How long has it been?
You and I, man, we go way, way back now.
I'm trying to think. I'm thinking based on real estate.
It's always based on real
'Cause
estate.
that's how we met,
Yes,
through Blair. Blair introduced me to you.
correct.
And so that would have been when I first met Blair. It was probably like 2009.
It's definitely over 10 years now, easily. Yeah.
That's right. Let's talk about that. So you started off, you were working at Goldman Spring when we met. You're a real estate lawyer there, and that's obviously how we connected. I wasn't even in real estate at the time. I was just there as a client for my own real estate transactions. Tell me about the progression. So you've gone from Goldman Spring to now partner at Kormans LLP.
So when you met me at Goldman Spring, I was an associate. It's funny, when I look back on those years, I laugh. It was a very interesting setup over there. So, I could talk about it freely. So we had, over there was 6-7 partners, and me as the one associate. Most law firms, you have about 1, maybe 2 associates per partner. I was the only associate. So I was working
So you just got dumped on.
night and day. It was unbelievable. I remember this one night, it was like a Thursday night, it was like midnight. I called up my mom. I know she's a night owl. I said, "Mom, how you doing?" She goes, "Good, what's going on?" I said, "I'm still at the office. I'm looking out the window." She goes, "What are you looking for?" I said, "I'm wondering if somewhere out there I made a Jewish mother happy. I hope you're enjoying this, because I sure ain't." But it was one of those things about, earning your stripes, putting in the work, getting the experience, getting knowledge. And I'm very grateful for them that way. They were very good to me and really built me up. And as I got aligned to Kormans LLP, it was a small, small world. My partner, David Korman, almost worked at Goldman Spring, so happens, years before me. But at the time, I believe a recession hit, and so he did not join them. He ended up joining his cousin, Jerry. They ended up being Kormans, and then I joined as the third partner. Jerry retired, and now it's the two of us, myself and David Korman, as partners, and then life sprang from there. So Goldman Spring gave me my springboard, but we were still interconnected and still keep a good relationship to this day. It's very important not to burn bridges in life, certainly. But I gotta say, being able to run my own show, having more freedom, being able to mentor the younger generation, being able to progress the area of law and how it's practiced, being able to go to paperless, virtual, I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And that's where the entrepreneur comes out of you, right?
So
It's one thing to be a lawyer, but then having the drive to get into business for yourself, that's a different thing altogether.
I was ingrained, it's funny, I just mentioned this on my baseball podcast, so I have a couple different shows that I run.
I didn't know about the baseball one.
There's a baseball one as well.
Okay.
But we're talking about how there's so many second generation, third generation baseball players, basketball players, wrestlers. And I was saying, you know what, but that doesn't just go as far as in sports. It could be anywhere. So I'm a second generation lawyer. I know my accountant. He's a second, third generation accountant. So any line of work, it could go that way. From the time I was born, it was ingrained in me, you're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be the lawyer. So all I ever knew was I was going to be the lawyer. But when I finished high school, I decided to take a business degree before going to law, because I figured I'm going to have a lot of business clients. I'm going to deal with business transactions.
Yeah.
They're not going to teach me that in law school, so better for me to know how business works, practically from an education standpoint, in order to be able to be a better lawyer. And I'm so grateful I did that, because I use that degree every day.
Yeah, I bet.
Certainly.
I bet. How long were you at Goldman Spring? I don't remember.
So Goldman, I was there for approximately 3 years.
3 years.
3 years. And then there was the springboard over to Kormans. So Goldman Spring, I was there for 3 years. And it just got to the point that we were talking, and from their trajectory, they were happy to have associate levels, and I was ready to do my own thing. I was ready. I already had my own client base, and I was saying, I need to grow. And they supported that. I thought that I was going to go open up my own law firm. I had the whole game plan set up. It was going to be Hacohen Law, the chosen lawyer, going to get it all set up. And at the very, very last second, so now this is December of 2014, and I'm planning for an early 2015 launch. I get a phone call from a David Korman. He's in Miami at Christmas time. He says, "I bumped into an old buddy of mine at a hockey game. And I told him that we're planning to one day get a new lawyer and start doing succession planning. And he said to him, you don't need a young lawyer. You need somebody ready right now. I got the guy for you. You better call him immediately. And I said to David, you know what? This could be the best timing or the worst timing because I'm literally ready to go on my own.
I remember talking to this
It was
back at the time that this happened.
Absolutely, because we were all evolving at the same time. You were the same thing. Like we're all evolving in our paths. It's funny how that works out.
How old are you now?
So now I'm 46.
You're 46. So
Turning
you and I are the
47
same
this
age,
year.
I'm turning 46 in October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were on very similar paths at the time. You know, you were branching, I was branching. And I go to meet David and Jerry. I swear to you, Mark, I met at least 12 different law firms up to this point looking to buy out a business, buy in, slowly take over, whatever it was. And nothing felt right. I meet them in 5 minutes. I knew this felt right. We did a handshake deal, nothing on paper. And we said, let's do it.
Right into partnership?
Yes. So there's different levels of partnership at the
yeah.
time. So it was like a junior partner type situation.
Yeah.
I show up my first day. It was a Friday. I'm supposed to start on Monday, but me being the type A personality I am, I said I'm going to set myself up and everything. Let's get this thing going. So I'm ready to go hit the ground running on Monday. I bump into Jerry. Our offices are back to each other. We actually have a door in between. So literally I can hear every conversation. He can hear mine. And he opens up those two doors, walks in. He goes, nice to see you again. Everything's great. Just to let you know, I'm on my way to Israel for the next 3 weeks. Good luck. You'll look after my files. You'll do fine. I could tell.
Nice.
He just threw me into the water.
How were those 3 weeks?
It was interesting. Because I also showed up and I said to the admin, I said, nice to meet you. And I dumped my files. I said, here's all these new files you're opening, by the way. Everything that got moved over because the clients wanted to stay with me. So they weren't expecting that either. So it was a bit of, I wouldn't say it was growing pains. It was more, I decided to use my time smartly. I knew I couldn't burn myself out. I'm starting in a new business, but where I did it, I think the smart way, which I tell anybody in any industry, especially we work with a lot of realtors, you know, in our industry. I tell them you're going to move into a new brokerage. You are becoming a new broker. You're becoming a new lawyer, a new accountant, whatever it is. Your first job for the first few weeks, I think you need to do is go through your Rolodex. I want you to spend your whole time emailing, texting, calling every single person you ever met and tell them where you are, what you're up to, so they know where to locate you. And from there, I set myself up every single week, Mark, no word of a lie, either a coffee, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it was, I'm having a meeting with somebody no matter what.
Now, would you still take the same approach or would you just put it on Instagram?
You know what? I would still take the exact same approach.
Yeah, good.
Instagram is good. It's like casting out a net. Like I'm going out in Nova Scotia and I'm going to cast a net. Maybe I'm going to get some lobsters or something. But if I know there's a dedicated water, I'm still have my dedicated fishing line. I'm going to use the right bait. I think in person is much, much better.
Exactly.
And I do both.
Yeah.
But really once I got that initial, it took me about seriously 2.5 months. I had about 5,000 contacts to go through, maybe 4,500. Mm-hmm. I made sure to do that, spent a lot of time networking, reacquainting with people, and then it was that reaffirmation. Don't worry about getting new business all the time. Make sure your existing database is happy with you and build that up.
We just had a strategy session yesterday and we were talking about that, creating some training videos and the difference between nurturing your existing client database.
Yes.
Candace, for example, she always uses the number 300. She has 300 clients that are her clients. She owns them. She, knows their birth date. She knows everything about them. She knows when they just had a baby, and nurturing that database versus your digital lead database is completely different. Right?
Everybody has, as long as you have a strategy and you're doing it, all the power to you. I don't like when there's no strategy because then you're kind of moving at random. Some people have this board. I love the idea of the board. You got this board in your kitchen, you got this board in your bedroom, in your office, wherever it is, and it's your 10, 12 most important people. You need to make sure those 10, 12 people are happy with you at all times, by all means. For me, it's in my phone favorites. I got my 20 phone favorites. I'm looking at my phone favorites every day. I want to make sure everybody's good on the phone favorites. Just make sure there's a system. People are choosing to work with you at the end of the day. I've had people that have worked with me for over 20 years. Maybe I've never even met them in person. We've had always like a phone, virtual, whatever it is. Some of them, I became really good friends with them. We've done dinners. I vacationed with clients. We became good friends. But keep those relationships, whatever it takes, because people have to feel important. They don't like that feeling being passed off. They don't like that feeling that they don't matter. But I established, like, for example, you and I are taping today. It's a weekday. I've told people on all my files, I put me, another lawyer, and a clerk. Because if I'm in a meeting or I am being interviewed, I can't have you waiting. I'm just saying, Jonathan's not available. Maybe Jonathan will get back to you later. I want somebody to get back to you immediately. And then there's a follow-up. And if I need to speak to them, I'll speak to them this afternoon.
Yeah, especially in a closing situation where people are high stress, right?
As in real estate, it's always high stress. It's always short deadlines. The days of these 90, 120-day closings is over. It's always less than 60, very often less than 30. People just want, Mark, they just want communication. Yeah. All they're craving is communication. And because of all the mediums that people message, they'll message you on Facebook Messenger, Instagram, they'll message you on there, text message. But when they don't get a response, they're not happy. So if you're not able to do it, make sure there's somebody who is checking that stuff and make sure there is follow-up. It's all about the follow-up.
It's funny. Whenever you have conflict in business or controversy, most times, almost 99% of the time, it's a lack or poor communication.
I put down, to me in life, if you want to have a relationship, whether it's personal or it's professional, whatever it is, you do two things and you're going to have this relationship, I guarantee you. It's called expectations and communication. That's it. Establish from the onset, what are the expectations for this? What are we each going to be doing and what do we expect for our results? And keep in communication. Mm-hmm. When you drop the ball on the expectation, you could be communicating great, but if you're not on the same page for expectation-wise and goals, you ain't going to get very far. And if you do have those expectations, but you're not communicating, that's a problem as well. People don't like to be left. Even if they're not communicating well, they're still expecting to hear the communication. Sure. Yeah. Stay on your communications. I don't see myself as a lawyer. I see myself as a communicator. I go to sleep at night. My emails are 0. My text messages are 0. My phone calls are 0. There's no notifications because it's all been done.
Off, yeah. You have to. You absolutely have to.
When I learned what they called inbox 0, it changed my life. I realized so much of my stress was sitting in unanswered messages, unanswered events, and I just felt like I was behind all the time. Monday morning starts, and I'm drudging what I had to deal with 2 weeks ago. No more of that. Now everything has an assigned due date and time, and that day, I'm just dealing with that day. But I like, at some point at night, not too late, obviously, not right before bed, I want to see what my calendar is for the next day. I want to see what my to-do list is, maybe shuffle a few things around. Then I feel fresh when I start the morning.
I check and respond to emails twice a day. So I'll come in here, and first thing I do is sit down, answer any unanswered emails from the previous day or night. And I won't check once I get through those, I'll start my work day where I'm tackling whatever project I'm tackling, dealing with, accounting or back-end deal processing. And then I won't check my emails again until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. When you're constantly checking your emails and you have notifications just dinging while you're trying to get through something, you'll never get what you're doing done, right? Because the emails just keep coming and coming and coming. And then before I leave at the end of the day, I'll just do a quick run through the emails and respond to anything.
I turned off the sound notification on my phone for emails because it was stressing me out. Yeah. It's like a Las Vegas slot machine sometimes. When I don't have to hear that sound, I feel good. I know there's always going to be emails. I don't have to worry. I don't look at my phone right now.
That ding stresses me out.
There's emails coming out. So just avoid that ding and try to put less dings in your life, certainly. And I like that. Sometimes, for me, I do that for text messages and phone calls. There's a dedicated time slot of when I'm going to deal with them, and then I'm going to power through them. But I'm not leaving it for days.
And the same thing goes for your personal time, right? Like when I'm home with the kids, shutting those notifications off is mandatory. I cannot be responding to business emails. One, the kids won't let me because they're climbing all over me. But it's just, you can't be there in the present when you're worried about the ding in the background. That ding stresses me out.
You want a good story?
Go.
So you've met my son, Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Jeremiah is almost 18 now. He's working full-time at a car dealership, loves cars.
He's 18 now, eh?
He's almost 18, God. Yes. Taller than me, but that doesn't take much, obviously. But doing well, head full of hair, loving his life. I remember Jeremiah when Jeremiah was like 5 years old, okay? Maybe even 4 years old. So we did always a nighttime routine. I was raising him as a single dad. We have our dinner, we go to the park, we go everything, go at bath time, and then it's snuggle time. Snuggle time was reading a book, waiting till he goes to sleep for a little bit, and then I go. Not sitting there for hours, because I told him, it's your bed, it's your space. I'm not here all night, buddy. Not going to happen. But 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. At one point, I come into bed, he goes, hold on a minute. Is that your phone? I said, yes. He goes, this is a phone-free zone. There's no phone during snuggle time. if you're going to bring your phone, you're not welcome here. You can leave now. And I'm like, wow. And
Jeremiah's in charge.
Jeremiah's in charge. But you know what? The innocence of youth, they're right.
For
I
sure.
remember my oldest niece, when she was like 3 years old, she took her toy phone, her mom was telling me, and saying, Daddy, what time are you coming home? She knew the only way to reach Daddy is on the phone. Kids pick this stuff up really quick.
They absorb everything, and they know when you're distracted, not paying attention to them. They know when you're just, and not really listening or watching their new dance move. Like, you really have to be careful.
But it's okay for them to be distracted and be doing all their social media stuff.
Yeah. London, get dressed. London, get dressed. We have to be at the door in 5 minutes. Yeah.
But they don't want us to do that. And that's where I say to parents, especially new parents, they grow up so quickly, savor every moment, because for us as parents, we love our kids. The one thing we're always realizing and we're feeling is no matter what time we spend with them, it never feels like it's enough. And the time went by too quickly, and you look back and you're like, I wish I would have done more. And that's where I made a prioritization in my life. We did a lot of father-son road trips. We went everywhere in the world together that we could. And you know what? Those are the memories. Those are the moments. I took him to Madison Square Gardens with my nephew. We saw one of the biggest boxing upsets in history when Joshua lost his belt. At the time, the stadium was filled with people from the UK. Nobody saw that coming. Andy Ruiz was a guy that was an underdog. Nobody had heard of him. And we saw that live. That's a memory. You could say can't put a price on it, but if you've ever stayed in New York City, sure, you can put a price on it.
Yeah.
But it's building those memories versus, you come and your kids are one day married and they have their own kids and you're saying, wow, I wish I'd put that time into it. That's why you see a lot of parents are very involved with the grandkids, because they did not put as much time into their own kids. Mm-hmm. And I can definitely tell you, as being a dad, I look at my son and he's my best friend. And that's a relationship it took time to cultivate.
That's great. One of the goals of this podcast is to kind of get into how people that have so much on the go manage it all, right? And I know a few years ago, and so we'll get into a few different topics because you actually have a lot of things going on right now. And I've learned even more so 10 minutes talking to you before we started filming here, but and some funny things, some interesting things. But I know a few years ago you really got into health and wellness. I think like the rest of us, you had a few LBs on, and you decided I'm getting in shape. Tell me about that transition into your health and wellness journey, yogi, boxing, training, bodybuilding. I just learned, which I actually remember now. I remember that you did do that. But talk to me about that.
I wasn't wearing Speedos, so I know you didn't block that out for that reason.
It was some long shorts on there, thank God.
Look, like a lot of us, when I hit 40, my extended warranty expired.
Yeah.
It was over. Like, I got so many health ailments all of a sudden out of nowhere. And when I was in my 20s, I was in my 30s, I never put on a pound. I ate like crap.
What were the signs? What really kind of woke you up? Just so people are aware.
It's funny because, I was putting on weight. I'd never put on weight in my life. And I just figured all my pants are shrinking, all my shirts are shrinking. It's got to be the wash. I was yelling at my partner at the time, or just telling her, what are you doing with my pants? I don't get it.
Stop drying them on hot.
Yeah, I don't get this. Hang dry them, And I saw a picture one day that my niece took when we were out hiking with the family. And I looked at this picture of me and her together, and I didn't really ever see this, even though I look at the mirror every day. And I'm like, damn, I'm effing fat. Mm-hmm. Wow, I've done it. I could see my face, everything. I went to go weigh myself. I didn't weigh myself in years. And I was 40, 50 pounds above where I was for almost all my adult years. I said, I really let myself go here. My eating habits are absolute garbage. I see this. And it still did not really wake me up. What woke me up was going to the family doctor, getting my physical done, and him sitting and talking to me about the results. And he looked at me and goes, buddy, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're in your 30s. You have the cholesterol of a 70-year-old. You are going to die. I'm not going to lie to you. Your track is to death. You need to fix this. And he wanted to put me on cholesterol meds. And I said to him, I'm in my 30s. If I go on cholesterol meds now, I'm going to be on forever. And I know those things destroy your liver. So he goes,
and it doesn't solve the problem.
But according to him, what he was telling me, just so you know, there's good cholesterol, there's bad cholesterol. You can't fix that by yourself. It's hereditary. That's how it is. You have a history in your family, which means you're going to have it no matter what. I said, I believe through exercise nutrition, I can do this. Give me some time. He says, come, do your routines. Come to me in 3 months. I came to him in 3 months. He goes, You haven't done squat. Results are the same. I said, give me 3 more months. Came back 3 months later. I was trying. I really was trying. I started, and then I fell off the wagon. Started, fell off the wagon. No good. And he said to me, look, I'm going to give you basically 6 more months. You come back in 6 months. If you haven't really taken this seriously, I'm telling you, you have to go on cholesterol meds or you're done. So I bit the bullet. I was a blogger at the time. I was really big into my baseball blogging while a full-time lawyer. I'm driving to work one day, and I talk about this in my book. It's one of the things that it's part memoir, but it's mostly about setting up life systems. So for myself, I drove to work, and it hit me on a Monday morning. I mean, I was marinating. A lot of my best ideas, Mark, I plan a seat for myself, and I let it marinate, and then it'll hit me one day. I'll sleep on it, and then one day I'll just do it. People think it's a spontaneous, irrational decision.
That's exactly my process.
It's not. I marinate till I'm ready. And then I drove and I said, I'm done blogging. I am done writing. I called my head writer. I said, take over the blog. I'm done. I'm not writing anymore. I'm not going to write about life. I'm going to go live life. And for my research, I decided, because I knew I was lazy, I knew I wasn't going to commit to very much. I used to love the gym when I was younger, and I fell off, never went back. I said, yoga. Yoga is it. I'm going to go, and I'm going to become a yogi, and I'm going to go. Look at people, how they look generally. You know, they got the yoga body, the quote-unquote stereotypical. You don't see a yogi sitting outside smoking outside the yoga studio before they go in, you know. They have a healthy lifestyle. I'm going to go do some yoga. I'm going to go hire a nutritionist, dietitian, whatever it takes, get myself on a routine. I'm going to fix this. And in 6 months, I dropped over 40 pounds, doing yoga 3 times a week, and working with the dietitian who gave me a better meal plan. Not even amazing, but she knew what I was eating, and she helped me slowly pull little things out, put a little bit of stuff in, and I did that, and I've stayed like that since, and it's been now, knock on wood, 10 years.
Amazing.
Going.
I remember that transformation, and you did, and it was obvious. As soon as I didn't see you in a few months, and then all of a sudden you came in and you're half the size, right?
Yeah.
And then you introduced boxing. I know you got really big into boxing there at one point.
So boxing was always a pipe dream. It was, so when I was growing up, you know, everybody had their idols, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to Jewish school. I'm this little Jewish kid in grade 2, grade 3, and you know everybody's talking about who their heroes are. And the teacher comes to me and she's like, "Who's your idol?" And I look at her. I go, "When I grow up, I want to be Mr. T. I want to be big black guy with the mohawk and the chains. That's what I want." So I had a giant poster of Mr. T. I remember watching him in Rocky
3.
and Clubber Lang, and I wanted to be Clubber Lang.
It's my favorite Rocky.
The best. Yeah. Nothing's better. And I'm very, very mad at the Creed people for not bringing Mr. T, because they followed the recipe perfectly, except for the last one. It should have been Mr. T's son, and we should have Mr. T trading him. But I got robbed of that experience.
You're passionate about this, I can tell.
I went to see that movie. I figured he'd do a cameo. I figured they were lying to me. There was no cameo. There was no Mr. T. I'm sorry to ruin it to everybody, but there is no Mr. T in it. So, long story short of it, we talked about the health ailments. So, you know, just as you get yourself healthy, just as you're feeling good, that's where I was at. Life is great. All of a sudden, I'm not walking. One day, my foot balloons on me, my right foot, and I can't put on shoes, and I can barely walk. I start going to doctors, specialists. They're probing me, testing me. Nobody can figure out what's wrong with me. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, you don't understand. Like, when God takes away your foot from you and you're on crutches. So I was going to still do yoga, by the way. So I went on the crutches, and they told me for insurance, you can't go into yoga like in this condition. I said, I'm fine. It's just a little sore. Don't worry about it. And I put the crutches off to the side, and I limped into the studio, because I knew if I do not exercise, my brain is going to turn to mush, and I'm going to let my body go. Long story short of it, turned out I had a foot tumor. I didn't know such a thing even exists, but there was a tumor in my foot. I was misdiagnosed. The right specialist found from my MRI, got me into surgery right away. Took several months as far as recuperation, everything, till I was able to walk again.
Malignant or no?
It was benign.
Okay.
So it was literally like I was born with too much bone in my foot. It broke off at some point. It moved onto a nerve, and that's what caused everything.
Mass.
But nobody knew. But why am I telling you this? Because I'm driving on a Saturday afternoon and going to go buy some clothing, because I'm in better shape now. I know everything's good. I'm really healing well. I'm at the gym. And it hit me. I go, I'm going to be a boxer. That's it. I've been given a second chance. And 3 people told me about this one studio called Grant's at Finch and Dufferin area, Grant's MMA. I drive to Grant's, and they're closing in like half an hour. I make it in time, and I walk in there. I start looking around, and there's a guy behind the desk. He's like 6'5", huge. He looks like Jimmy Butler, like he's just really jacked. And he says to me, "How can I help you?" And I said to him, "Hello, I'm Jonathan, chosen lawyer. I want to be a boxer."
The chosen lawyer, yeah.
He goes, what drove you to be a boxer? Why do you want to be a boxer? I said to him, I looked at his, no word of a lie. He has a magazine on the corner of his desk. Mr. T was on the cover. I looked at the Mr. T and I said, I want to be Mr. T. I want to be a boxer. He goes to me, there's only one problem with that. You know you're not black, right? And I said to him, black isn't a color, my friend. It's a state of mind. He looked at me, he goes, you're whacked. I like you. That was Saturday, Mark. Monday morning, I was there 7 a.m. and we started training together.
I love it. That's great.
I trained for almost 2 years with him, and the plan was for me to go into the ring and fight one charity match. That was the game plan.
And did you?
Hell no.
No.
I sucked. I'm very bad. I have no... God gave me a lot of things. He gave me the ability to talk, to write, but he did not give me the ability to box. So 2 years of it with world-class training, and I was getting injured all the time and not even much sparring with it. And I kept going to the sports clinic. And the doctor told me, you're a 40-something-year-old Jewish lawyer, 5'6". You have no business being in the boxing ring. This is going to be very bad for you. But I told everybody that I'm going in the boxing ring, so I have to follow through with it. And I set myself a deadline. It was going to be 2019. I was going to do it within 2 years. So I was telling this story to a buddy of mine who's a realtor, and he looks at me and he goes to me, with your physique, screw boxing, go do bodybuilding. I'm like, bodybuilding, eh? So I thought, that's a lot safer. And I'm going to do a show. And I've told people I'm going to do a show. So let's do that. So I steered course.
Do we have pictures of this yet? Do we got the pictures? Okay, good. They're going up, just so you know.
That's fine. They are on the internet. They are out there. I'm
You're
not
heavily tanned.
I'm not shy. Buddy, the only real reason I'm not going to, besides the full body waxing, which I don't recommend for anybody, that's not fun. And there are areas you would think would be more painful than others. No, it's the most easiest areas that are the most painful. So that was part of it. I would do the waxing again. It's the spray tanning. Mm-hmm. When you are standing there and they're just spraying you and spraying you and spraying you, that stuff does not come off. Like, it took months. I'm walking around. It's embarrassing. Like, I'm a lawyer and I'm walking around with this half orange. I look like Donald Trump, fell into a pile of mud. Like, this orange brown goo. So... But it was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. I had a lot of support. I hired really great trainers.
It's an incredible discipline, right? Like what you have to go through to get on stage as far as burning, getting your body fat down. The dehydration actually happens as well for exposure, but it's a big undertaking.
And the hardest part of it, you would think, okay, it's getting your body the physique, getting the cuts stomach, learning to discipline food, but the posing. Unless you are a trained dancer or you've used posing before, I found that really challenging. And I'm like a month and a half out, and I realized, oh, wait a minute. It's not just having a nice body. You have to learn routines. You got to learn how to pose properly. And, we all just sit there and do this. It's not that. There's an art to it. You have to suck it in. You have to put your toe down. You have to turn in the right angles. You have to keep the smile. There's a lot of art to it.
I'm assuming you had a coach for that, though?
So I went to the workshop for it's called Ultimate Fitness Competition, UFC, UFE, sorry. And so I'm Ultimate Fitness Events, and I'm at their workshop. It's a month and a half out, and I figured this is going to be a snap. They're just going to show me a little bit of posing. I'm watching this for like 2 hours. Mark, I want to hurl. I am screwed because I don't know what the hell I am doing. I'm the worst bodybuilding posing guy there is ever. All I know how to do is this, literally, and I can't even do that properly.
Were you better than you were a boxer?
I'm still better than I was as a boxer.
Okay.
So what did I do with that? I watched one guy. He came in late to the workshop. It was about 12 of us. He was unbelievable. He could do a vacuum. He could suck in his stomach and invert in his stomach. He had competed in the Mr. Mumbai contest. He had just came to Canada from India. I stopped him at once. Everybody was done. I called him over and I said, I got to tell you, man, you are the Indian Arnold Schwarzenegger. You are incredible. And he was a big Arnold fan like me. Said to him, out of curiosity, what are you doing for the next few weeks? And he says to me, I'm taking time off work and I'm just going to get ready for the competition. I said, where do you live? He lived across the street from my office.
Incredible.
So I said to him, guess what we're doing together for the next few weeks? I'm hiring you, and you're going to train me every day to be a bodybuilding guy because I don't know how to pose. He looks at me and he does the glare and he says, you're going to go to Walmart. You're going to pick up 3 mirrors, not 2 mirrors, not 4 mirrors, but 3 mirrors. You're going to set them up in your boardroom.
He was gamed.
You're going to go get your outfit. I want you to get 3 different trunks. These are where I want you to get them from. I want to select them. You're going to pose, you're going to change, and you're going to pose in your trunks, in your office, in your boardroom every day. I will be there at 3 p.m. sharp. We train for 1 hour at least. I'm going to bring the music. I want you ready. This is what I want you to eat before.
I feel bad for your staff.
They thought it was hilarious. They watched me going around in my trunks and like, what the heck is this guy doing? And there's music blaring, it's raining men coming out of my boardroom. And they're like, what is he doing in there with this guy? But the guy was teaching me how to pose. And it was just like the Karate Kid. Remember the Karate Kid with jacket on, jacket off?
Wax on, wax off.
Yeah. It was like, again. I go, let's just do it. No. I go, you got to get the one movement. So it take us 2 days to do the one movement. Take us 1 day to just learn one turn, where to put the feet, where to go. It was so disciplined. He gave me homework. I had to videotape it, send it to him. That was the worst part of it. And you know what? He turned out to be one of my best friends. He had nowhere to stay for the competition. He ended up staying with me in my Airbnb. We ended up butting it up. We were on stage together.
Where was the competition?
It was in Hamilton, actually. Okay. That one was the Halloween special, the Halloween Havoc one. So we went down to Hamilton. It was October 2019. We competed in one of the events together. I competed in 3 different events. We won medals together.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
So we're actually this picture of us together on stage. There's my coach with the gold. I won the bronze.
So you have to send us that picture as well.
It was amazing, and you do this. You really build lifelong friends there. Everybody's in the same kind of boat. Everybody's there for their own reasons. But it was the best part of that was not going up on stage and doing, because I don't remember. You go up on stage, you do your routine, you come back 5 minutes later, you don't remember doing it because you're so focused. But it's the friendship part of it. So we're all hanging out on the second day. We're now waiting. When we go out on stage, when you go up on stage, by the way, and you're at these competitions at night and you're watching, you're thinking, oh, I don't know if that guy did so well there. You're not winning the medals off of the show in front of the audience. You've done a previous show in the morning in front of the judges, and they've already graded you. They've already decided who's winning. So that competition at night is the nice showtime for the family members to take pictures. But the results, those are not the deciding results unless you really flab it up.
I didn't realize that.
So we're sitting back there, and they start announcing people, and I was just happy to compete. And they go through the different categories, and they call me up, and I'm like, I won. And I run up there, and I got a bronze. I'm like, oh man, I got a medal. This is unbelievable. I didn't think I would win. And then, sure enough, a few rounds later, and they're going to another category, and there's back again, the chosen lawyer. I'm like, that's me. And I was like over the moon. I was doing like circles on the stage, and I'm like, my medals are like clamping like horses, like, and we were all just laughing. But we had a good time with it. It was all about the energy at the end of the day. So I tell anybody, if you ever think about doing something like that, don't go in because you want to kill yourself to get yourself in a perfect state. Do it because you want to get healthy and have a lot of fun with others who are in the same boat with you.
Nice. Now, it's funny. You threw a curveball at me right before we start filming here, which is very fitting for one of the next topics. But you just informed me that you're becoming a pro wrestling manager. So before we get into that, I want you to tell me what that. I need you to tell me who's your favorite. Deciding. This is for you. And is it Andre? Is it Hulk? Who do you like? Oh, it's a great picture in the back. Remember the old school? Look at
Unbelievable. I remember when Andre the Giant beat Hulk Hogan for the belt, and he had a side deal with the $1 Million Man and handed over the belt to the $1 Million Man. But you can't have these side deal shenanigans in wrestling. So the commissioner of the WWF at the time, Jack Tunney, ruled that the belt is invalid, and now they will have a tournament. In the finals of that tournament...
Is this where he body slammed Andre?
He bought out Andre, correct.
Yeah.
Bobby Heenan, the Heenan family. And
no, when Hulk body slammed
Andre.
No. Remember he picked him up?
Hulk did body slam Andre, correct. But I believe that was in WrestleMania. That was a different event. This wasn't Andre turned on him. They were lifelong friends.
Yeah, okay.
Andre was so proud of Hogan that he won the belt. But he got jealous, got bought off. Hulk won. Andre came back, did beat Hulk, handed over the belt to the $1 Million Man. $1 Million Man ended up getting into the tournament against the Macho Man, and Macho Man became the champion. My guy back in the day was the Macho Man.
It was the Macho Man.
I love the Macho Man. I loved Andre. Even now, when I'm with my trainer and we're doing our fitness, personal training sessions, and my bench is a little flat, and I'm not going well, and I ate well, I slept well, you know what I tell him, Mark? It's time to hulk up. You know, hulk up is when you're getting hit and you're like, and you get this intensity.
Yeah.
You can't hulk up too often, but if you need to get some results done, especially in the gym or in boxing, you got to hulk up for a good 30 seconds or so. You can do anything you want. Hulk still inspires me to this day with hulking up.
It's funny. I was never like a huge wrestling guy, but if I had to say who my favorite was Ricky Steamboat.
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Yeah. And Ricky lost his Intercontinental belt to the Macho Man.
He's a historian on this stuff.
Macho Man, I believe, was in WrestleMania 3 in Detroit. And not only did he beat Steamboat, he put his neck over the barrier, gave him the two-handed fist off the top rope. Steamboat was out. He can't talk now because his throat is destroyed because of the Macho Man.
Now, I've always known that you're like a massive wrestling fan. So how did that lead into becoming a professional wrestling manager? Which is a recent venture for you, right?
So my trainer knows how much of a wrestling fan I am. In having our sessions together, he made a special playlist for me. All the wrestling theme song, walkout songs for the wrestlers, because that pumps me up. When I created my podcast, The Chosen Life, I had an actual music producer, a real life musician, prepare and produce. And I actually have co-writing credits and we created a theme song for me. So it was based on a wrestling theme song. And there's a Chosen Lawyer theme song. You can go on Spotify, Apple Music. I co-wrote the thing. I learned how music is prepared and produced. It's crazy, by the way. And you think that it's all done in one session, but no. They do the instrumental different. They put the vocals. They combine it too. It's a fascinating process. So my trainer was part of all this. And he says to me, I've always wanted... I love wrestling. I have the body for it. I've done competitions, and he's in great shape, young guy. And he's like, I really want to be a professional wrestler. And I said to him, funny, because in wrestling, I never wanted to be a wrestler. I just want to be a wrestling manager. I want to come out. I want to yell. I want to cause crap. I want to, manage my guys. I want to cheat. That's where I want to be at. So we brainstormed on it through Connects. Lo and behold, for the past few months, he's been going off and training to be a professional wrestler in lowest dungeon of Hamilton, out of all places. He found a place in Hamilton, a trainer. This guy trains professional wrestlers.
How old is he to be getting into this at this age?
In his early 30s.
Early 30s.
Early 30s. But as he said, it's funny in wrestling. It's funny because it doesn't matter what age you are. He has no mileage on the body. It's not like you can have a 20-year-old that's broken down because he played professional football. You can have somebody 40 that has no mileage on their body because they didn't have contact. He has a no-contact body. He's fresh. He's fresher than most 21-year-olds. So we got aligned with this trainer in Hamilton. Now he has a trainer in Toronto as well. And he's good. He's great. He was a natural at it. Like, the trainer's watching him and saying, wow, I've seen guys who've been doing this for 5 years. You're doing it for 5 weeks. You're already ahead of them. So within a few months, he debuted at his first show. I was out there. I wasn't out. I was in the audience. I'm keeping my profile low with it. And you know what? He kicked some butt. He looked great out there. Mason Rush is his wrestling name. And if you check out my Instagram handle under Chosen Lawyer, I am the manager for Mason Rush. And Mason is going to be going real far with this. And goal is up to WWE. And
that's awesome.
You can do it. So
good luck, Mason.
So I have nothing else to do with my life. I might as well be a wrestling manager too while I'm at it. Mark, remember there's an expression. I don't know if you ever heard this one. If you want to get something done, ask someone who's busy to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm from that, but your other venture, because you have so many other things going on, the Chosen Life podcast, and now that's leading into writing your own book. So let's talk about that. What was Chosen Life podcast? What's your focus? And get into the book after that.
So with the Chosen Life podcast, so I'm a big YouTube fan. I love it. I actually bought a paid YouTube subscription because I didn't want to watch the ads. And most people watch TV. I was watching YouTube for the past few years, especially during the pandemic. I have certain interests that I like as far as niches like wrestling, cars, training, watches, whatever it is. And I watched YouTubers on their specific niche item. What I was finding was I would start to get bored with some of these shows because it was the same topic, same conversations. And I was enjoying it, but I thought to myself, you know what? Truth is, I think I can go out there and do better than this. So I decided to put my mouth where my money was. And I said, okay, so if I want to go put a channel together, what am I going to do? And I thought, you know what? Why don't you just take everything you like and do it all? So let's make a lifestyle podcast. Let's think of all the stuff that I enjoy, the things because as far as working as a lawyer and meeting realtors, mortgage brokers, clients, I don't bond with them over real estate and law. I bond with them over commonalities, hobbies, interests, lifestyles, whatever it is. You'll find one commonality and you're friends. That's it. So let's bond over all these commonalities. So I decided to make the lifestyle podcast, and every single week we'll have a different guest. We'll have different topics, and let's make some fun out of it. And it's still going. That's my main bread and butter show. But I knew I love baseball and I love wrestling way too much, and I'm going to talk about it way too much if I do it on the one show. So I branched off and made 2 other podcasts so that I can have one dedicated to wrestling, one dedicated to baseball, and then keep the lifestyle one. So my main one is the Chosen Life podcast. I've had a range of guests. I've had a Hollywood actress on there. I've had the owner of a supplement, Perfect Sports, was on there, Bruce Calero. Dan Milstein, the famed hockey agent. And it's just different people from different walks of life. But when I look for the guests, and very often I know them, why do I pick them is because I'm thinking I want to entertain people first and foremost. They're interesting people. I find them riveting. I think other people will also. But also, Mark, the truth is I want to inspire people. Because people are saying, you know, I'm too old, I'm broken down, it's too late for me, I can't follow my dreams. Those are all bloody excuses. The people that I bring on the show, no matter what their age, no matter where they started off, no matter how much money they had in their bank account, they all worked hard. They all were dedicated and focused, and they got themselves somewhere in life. I want to inspire others to watch and hear those stories and say, that could be me. You know what? It's not too late. This is pretty cool. So it's never, ever too late. So really, at the end of the day, is to inspire. And if we can reach one person that says, you know what, I'm at the end of my rope and I'm done for, so I'm just going to just drift through life and it's too late for me. No, it's never too late. Go hit a gym. Go eat well. Go start thinking about your goals and start making your dreams reality.
Amazing. And now that's transitioning into a book. You're on your 3rd edit, so you're looking to release in January, you were saying?
Correct. It was supposed to be in the fall, but it's my first book. I've never...
Were you a writer? Have you always been a writer? I know you had the blog in the past, but would you consider yourself a writer?
If I had to consider myself first and foremost...
You're a lawyer, so I know you're a reader.
So I knew from a young age I had a gift for writing. It was just, you just know, like when you're getting A+ in English and you're not even doing any of the work and you're not studying and you just comes, words just flow through my hands. Like the way I can describe it to you, like, you know, when you ever see a prodigy, you heard of a prodigy in piano, that they went to the piano and they just started playing? Mm-hmm. That's how I was with writing. I just naturally liked writing. That's how I expressed myself. So the issue is that I started and stopped several books. And I never felt it. Depends on where I was in my life. I was in very dark places in my younger years.
At the time, was that fictional or nonfiction?
It was generally always fictional.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, some nonfiction as well. It depended on where I was. You know, really, I think I was really captivated by Stephen King for a long time. And I was reading Stephen King nonstop for like 4 years. So I started working on what I thought was my best book. I made it to a few chapters into it, and I realized I'm really, really influenced by Stephen King here. Now I'm doing my own life story in a way where I thought my life would go, but it's very dark, very grim. So I burnt it. I hand wrote it, and I worked on it. I was out in New Mexico. I was visiting my uncle. I was 17. I wrote out all this stuff, and I stopped it. I read it a year later. I'm like, I'm not doing this. It's too dark. I can't go there. And I burnt it. It doesn't exist. It's gone. It's still in my head. But
so it was a nonfiction book with a Stephen King twist.
You could see where the influences were,
okay.
Like the reality of it is. Like I loved John Grisham at one point, and if I start writing, problem is that's why when I'm writing, I don't like to read because I don't want to be influenced. I want it to come from my own energy, my own habits, my own personality, where I'm at. So when I finished the blogging and I went off to do yoga, I never wrote again. I never read again. I had blockages. It just wasn't happening for me. So that's the longest I've ever spent in my life non-writing. And then one Christmas time, I felt good one day and it hit me. I saw the title, I saw the chapters, and I wrote that out in about 10, 15 minutes. I wrote every single chapter heading, and I started writing my book.
And how long ago was this? Like, how long have you been working on this?
So I wrote that, let's say, now it would be about a year and a half ago, give or take. And I wrote out 2 of the chapters. I had 10 pages, and I stopped. And I started marinating on it. It was like January, February. And I said to myself, wait a minute, you met a publisher once, and they're really into spiritual books, meditation. I should reach out to them and get their opinion. So I wrote to them. They responded back, and they said, okay, and any potential author, you need to sign an NDA. I said, I'm not looking to get published. I just wanted feedback. I know you're very busy, but can I get an idea if I'm on the right track here? I wasn't actually intending to write the book, finish it now. It was going to be a project over the next few years. Mm-hmm. That's how long it would take. I sent them my 10 pages, Mark. I got a response back about a week later. We love you. We want to sign you. Let's make this book happen. My response,
a huge compliment. It's great.
Well, not my reaction. I was stunned. We were writing, and then we went on the phone. I think we did Zoom, and I looked at the publisher.
Now the pressure's on, right?
I looked at her. I said, "Are you effing crazy? Like, you want to sign me over 10 pages? Like?" And she looked at me and she said, "I think this is going to be the biggest book we ever publish. I see where you're going with this. You have to do this book." So we began talking, and I think it was about a 3-4 week process, if I'm not mistaken. And I was very hesitant on it. And because I knew the time commitment, I knew what had to be done. And I had so much on the go at this point that I said, I can't commit to writing a book over this short period, because they want to do it over a year or so. So finally, after humming, making sure about the contract, I was interviewing them more than interviewing me, which is funny. Most authors want to get signed. Here, I'm not that concerned with it. I came to the publisher and I said, look, my real concern with this at the end of the day, if I'm going to do this, I don't want to write a book and put all this time for a book that has no chance to succeed. I know you can't guarantee me I'll be on the New York Times bestseller. I know you can't guarantee me that Oprah's going to read it. But what is your vision of this book? What is your vision for me? And I need to know, are we aligned with it? She said, I was watching your podcast, read what I read. You, my friend, are the next Joe Rogan, 1,000%, and this will be the biggest book we ever do. So I looked at her and I said, I guess we're writing a book then.
Incredible.
And so I went up to my cottage every weekend, every Sunday. I shut everything down from 7 in the morning till about 1 in the afternoon, and all I did was write. That's the only times I wrote, but I did nice, focused work. And here we are, 22 chapters later, and the book is going to.
And what's that process like? You said that you're on your 3rd edit now, right? So edit 1, edit 2, are you still changing the book? Are you taking it in different directions after a reviewing? By edit 3, are you just correcting things? Like, what's that process look like?
Everybody has a very unique process on how they write their books. The more traditional method is you write your book and wherever you're writing it, and then you send the full book, which is called the manuscript, over to the publisher, and then you work with an editor to start doing your tweaks. The way we did it was a little more unique. I wrote a chapter, editor reads the chapter, puts in comments, questions. I got to go in, I got to make my fixes. Then they go back in, have more questions, more edits. I got to go in and make more changes. We're on our 3rd process of this. So it's not ghost written. I wrote it, I changed it, but with feedback and questions from the editor. So we're kind of like bouncing ideas off one another. There was very few chapters that ever needed major surgery, fortunately, but it's a long, long process. The scariest part of the process, I can tell you as a writer, is I thought that I lost 3 of the chapters. We had a book meeting, as we do every week, and at the end of the meeting, she goes, you said that you finished these chapters. Where are they? I go, they're there. She goes, they're not. They're in the drive. I went to look, Mark. They're not there. And I wasn't backing up at the time because I just took it for granted that they were backing it up. I said, those are 3 original chapters that are gone. I literally turned sick. I probably got a little upset. I said, you don't understand. I cannot rewrite these things. They're done. They're one-offs. And I realized, wait a minute. I deleted some pictures out of my drive. I bet you they deleted those chapters. I thought they were saving into another drive, but they were in my drive. I contact Google. Within 10 minutes, they put back everything. As long as you don't realize
that's unheard of.
Even if you permanently
Google doesn't respond to anybody. How do you
even
pull that
if
off?
you permanently delete something out of a drive, as long as it's within 30 days, it's still sitting somewhere. It came back.
I can't believe you got a response. Google, there's no way of contacting them. It's insane.
Well, I found them and they came back to me in 10 minutes. So I was so happy that these chapters were back that night, we were in the middle of the book at this point. I got so inspired, I saw the ending of the book. The next morning I woke up, I wrote the ending. I was so happy that, it's funny, you get good energy and you never know where it's going to go. So here I am, I have the beginning, I have the middle, I haven't written the end of the book, but I had the last chapter. So I worked backwards.
So now that you're going through this process, not to get ahead of yourself here, but now that you're going through this process, are you starting to have thoughts about another book, another idea, another concept?
Well, that's one of the things we talked about, because I told her, I had idea for several books. There's so many things I wanted to do, as far as talking about yoga, talking about exercise, talking about setting goals, how to manifest, meditation. I ended up being very ambitious. The book is everything. This book is like my Mona Lisa. This is like my symphony. This is, if I'm going to write one book to the world, and every single thing I want to tell you, if you have anywhere where you are in life and you need to figure out your shit and you need to figure out, excuse my language, and where you got to go, this book will answer for you. So that book was done as a one and done. But I began to be warned, they're going to want a follow-up. I think this is going to go well. You need to go write the follow-up. So we discussed what the follow-up would be, probably a memoir, started writing a little bit of it, and I stopped it. I said, it's going very dark for me. I don't like going to dark places. Plus, I can't get into this because we're still editing book one.
I'm so interested in this darkness now.
Life
knowing you the way I do, I can't even imagine a memoir of yours going dark. But
I grew up most of my life. You see me, I'm fairly bubbly. I'm excited, a positive person. I didn't grow up that way. And we don't always grow up the way we want to for various circumstances, for reasons. I'm very open about it. I'm not afraid to talk about that. But sometimes you don't want to go there because you have to relive trauma. And trauma is a really hard thing to overcome. And people involved, sometimes you don't want to hurt people. So anytime you're going to put something out on social media as a professional, you're going to write a book about it, you got to think who's involved, because the one thing to tell your story and to inspire others, but you don't want to hurt others in the process. So that's where I put that off for a little bit. My focus in my brain, writing-wise, is only about the upcoming book, The Bible 3.0, and that's where I want to go right now. And we'll see. You know what? I feel like at the end of the day, the critics, the audience, they're going to tell me. They're not afraid. Trust me. I see them on the podcast. I see your comments on YouTube, people. And you think when I'm smart, you think when I'm an idiot. That's okay. I love feedback. That's one thing I learned early on from the blogging days, Mark. A lot of people don't like criticism. I don't mind it. Some of your best feedback is negative. The worst thing in the world is to create art and to have zero feedback. When nobody is commenting on you, when nobody's listening or watching you, that's when it really hurts.
I was talking about this with Matt Campoli last week on this show. And but 95% of that negative feedback, 98%, 99% of it is just someone that's not happy in their own life, right? There's just so much hate out there. So it's you can't even get caught up in it.
The thing which people don't realize, they take it very personally. So you read a comment, like I read a comment on the channel, and somebody says, chosen lawyer doesn't know what the heck he's talking about, he's putting me to sleep, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Chances are for that armchair quarterback, that's not about me, it's about them. When they're speaking about me, they're looking in a mirror really speaking about themselves, because for most people, they have a hard time praising others. Because if you're going to praise somebody for something that they got off their butt and did, they have to admit to themselves that they're not doing it. So the easier thing is to criticize, saying they're the aberration, because otherwise you don't want to feel like you're the aberration. If you're going to go criticize somebody else, whether it's somebody, family, friend, coworker, celebrity, first and foremost, look in the mirror for yourself. Take accountability for yourself. And that's where you're gonna get a lot more ahead in life rather than worrying about other people in their direction. Certainly. So that's where I don't take that personally. I think it's great, but I'm bringing an emotion out of somebody. And that emotion feeds off conversations. Some people back them up, some people back me up. Sometimes we're all aligned together, but it's nice to foster good, wholesome, intelligent conversation and to be the hub where you created that.
Nice. Congrats on everything. You got a lot going on, and it's well deserved. So we're going to end with two questions. And for some reason, everybody gets really stressed out by these questions. Well, not necessarily the first one, but the second one. So first question is, two favorite neighborhoods in Toronto or the GTA? This is, say, the Greater Toronto area.
So for me, any favorite part, it always has to do with memories. For me, it's all about memories. And like I know my favorite meals because I remember like
Good.
events associated with them. I one of my favorite Chinese food restaurants. I love eating there because I remember eating their food watching the Joe Carter home run back in the World Series days. I was sitting in my kitchen, never forget that. One of my first jobs was working with a yo-yo company.
Like yo-yo?
Yo-yos. And they were a yo-yo distributor. They just came into Canada. By our second year, we were the biggest toy of that Christmas season. But why am I telling you this? Because the first locations they set up when they came to Toronto was on the Danforth. And so I am very partial to the Danforth. I got to work there for a summer, walk the streets, eat at the restaurants. There's something really, really special about it. Absolutely love it. So I would definitely say that's neighborhood number one. Neighborhood number two is actually in the North York Bayview area, Bayview and Shepherd. I was living out there for a while. There's a shopping mall at Bayview Village. And there's a lot of nice parks. I walking the dog, and I like it because it's busy, but you're in the suburbs, and it's quiet, but there's things to do. So, for very various different reasons, like I love the Danforth area. I personally can't live there. It's just the traffic. I will lose my mind on it. But I love visiting there. So, and I'm a big foodie guy. Nothing for me beats the Danforth restaurant. So, it's the yin to the yang.
Nice. So, with that said, then, what is your two favorite restaurants in the Greater Toronto area? I think you have to focus on the Danforth now.
My two favorite restaurants, interesting. Number one, actually, is a restaurant by the name of Paese, Italian restaurant in the North York area at Bathurst and Wilson.
Okay.
Absolutely love them. They've been around forever. Very close, partial to that restaurant. I have a lot of ties in that area, and I've had so many meetings there. The menu's great. I can't say enough, and I love Italian food. So it's the one restaurant where they know my table, they know me. You can walk in. It's fabulous. It's a lot of fun out there. So that's restaurant number one. And restaurant number two is down the road at Bayview Village called Tabbouleh. They have a couple of locations.
You're the second person to name Tabbouleh as one of their favorite restaurants.
Oh my lord, the food just does not stop over there. And somebody took me over there.
I haven't had it in a few years. Blair and I used to get a lot when Blair lived down at. Remember, he lived out Princess. We used to get a lot down that end. That was back in like 2012, though.
And they have a location down in the Eglinton area, and the one at Bayview Village. But it's funny because you go into my notes. And I have little cheat sheets because I actually looked at the seating map. I know the seat number. So when I reserve on Open Table, I tell them the seat number, the table number. So last time I went over to Tabbouleh, I walk in there and I said, I have a reservation. And they said, oh, we actually just sat somebody at that table. I said, but I reserved that table. That's my table. I said, oh, sorry, sir. I said, yeah, move them. I don't care. I can't. I have to sit at that table. And I'm a regular, so I hate to do this. But you just sat them, tell them there's a mistake. Like the $1 Million Man, everybody's got their price. And $1 Million Man would just clear out the restaurant. I got my table.
You should have covered their dinner.
You know what? They were easygoing about it. They didn't care. And it was a fairly open restaurant. It wasn't like a case where like every table was full. The restaurant was empty. So they just moved them to another right beside there and we're good.
Nice.
Reason is, Mark, everybody's got their own comfort level. I've watched too many mafia movies. I cannot sit in a restaurant unless my back is to the wall.
Yeah.
Because that way they can't shoot you in the back.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jonathan. It's a pleasure having you on. You're an old friend, and we've been doing business together for a long time. So this is a great hour. I think we're probably pushing an hour.
I appreciate you bringing me on. Honestly, you've been a great friend, a brother to me. A lot of stuff. We know each other for this long, but when you sit down and talk dedicated for an hour, you never know where it's gonna go.
No.
So it's nice that we
Now
had
you're a wrestling
point.
manager. Who would have thought?
You know what? It's one of those things. You sit today and you say, "Here's where life is." We'll see where things go.
I can't wait to see the chosen outfit for the wrestling manager character.
I have a pretty good idea. All I can tell you is Versace will definitely be involved.
Yeah, nice. And don't forget your gift.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. That was beautiful. I'll make sure it gets a prominent place.
Thanks, Jay.